Each and every week, CVC Success Group presents this, and our mission, our idea, is to share concepts, share ideas that can give business managers and owners ideas, concepts, processes that can help move them to the level that they are really looking for happening in life. And today's topic is your comfort zone holding you back? Because this is often what happens. So to start this, I'm going to tell you a little story about a guy who his name is Fred Smith. And if you don't know who Fred Smith is, Fred Smith was the guy that started FedEx. He started this back in the mid 1970s and had an idea of giving quick overnight delivery of packages, letters around the country. Okay, so he founded it in 1971 and had a lot of problems getting it going. You know, in 1971, he brought a controlling interest in Arkansas aviation sales. And he truly understood the challenges of shipping goods quickly and realized that the term paper he wrote about this could be the solution. In 1973, FedEx was operational, providing overnight delivery across the United States. The company grew very rapidly, but as fuel costs soared upwards, FedEx all of a sudden was drowned in debt. In 1974, he was in a dire situation. He only had $5,000 left in the bank account at FedEx, and he could not get more funding. And it appeared that bankruptcy was almost inevitable to happen. But he wasn't ready to give up. And this gentleman stepped outside of his comfort zone, probably something that very few of us would be willing to do because he had to get the fuel for these planes. So he took that last $5,000 of the company assets and he went to Las Vegas and he gambled it on a blackjack table and he won $27,000, enough to float the plane's fuel and also gave him time to secure the funding he needed to build this mammoth organization that he has today called FedEx. Imagine that. Stepping out of your comfort zone. Could you do something like that? Could you actually go there and salvage and save your company? That had to be the ultimate comfort zone stepping out of story. But there's other stories. If we look at it, the McDonald brothers, founders of McDonald's, they were trapped by a lid, their comfort zone. They couldn't get past it. And McDonald's today came about because Ray Kroc had an idea that this concept of their speedy food service could be franchised and be in every town across America. And he's pretty well succeeded. So it took somebody there coming out of the comfort zone. And if you read the story, if you watch the movie The Founder, the story of Ray Kroc and McDonald's rising to where they at is a very impressive story. There's some things that are very sad in there. But what happened was Ray Kroc had to sacrifice a lot to build this. So these are all examples of coming out of that comfort zone. Cheryl, give me your thoughts on the comfort zone. Where do you see people are locked into their comfort zone out there that you encounter in the real world or stories you may have read in your lifetime?
I think the number one thing is just pure fear locks people in and where they can't step out. The fear of the unknown. Where are we going to go? I think what if that was not part of the English language would definitely help people out because we all have had those times. You've had them. I don't know any person that's not had them. People like you were just reading about. Some of them, I think, were especially FedEx. He was at the end of his road. Did he really have anywhere to go if he lost? I mean, he either had to do something or just let it go under. So he took a chance. And a lot of people are not willing to do that with the last bit of money that they've got. So you have to admire somebody like that. But again, sometimes I think you have to step out of your comfort zone because it's the only place you've got to go. You're sitting at the bottom of normal.
Okay, so Cheryl, you deal with hiring people and you deal with a lot of clients that you're actually doing the hiring for. How often do you see that people that are doing hiring will not come out of their comfort zone, will not come up and do what they have to do to make this recruiting possible, such as I suggest making videos, I suggest speaking to your community, I suggest a lot of things in order to get to where you're going. How often do you encounter this with the clients that you deal with?
It takes a long time to get them started. I mean, you can push them putting on Facebook a little bit, but they don't want to go a lot deeper many times. I have quite a few that do, but I also have quite a few that won't attempt anything. They're satisfied with what they get just from Indeed or just from what may show up. The thing is, there's some things that I can't do for them. I can't be their spokesperson. That needs to be a person in their company. I could be, but it wouldn't be effective if I showed up for everybody's company as a spokesperson. But it's hard. It's really hard to have them do something that they're not willing to do and or that they don't want to do. But those that do, the recruitment's a whole lot easier, and the people that come in they're familiar with the company, and it makes it a much easier transition.
Got your coverage. Josh, what about you? You got experience with people or yourself where the comfort zone kind of locks you into where you're at? What about you? What's your thoughts on this?
Well, I always go back to that when we had a manager like that, who moved my cheese. People who have those kind of negative thoughts. It's like, okay, well, the process has changed. Like, it doesn't matter what happened before. That old sales system you have doesn't work anymore. We need more information or what have you. Those things like that. Going back to the who moved my cheese, like your choices are to need to go find the new piece of cheese, or you can starve to death. And there's a lot of people who are willing to starve to death. That was always a big thing. You could identify those people, and then in the negative talking, those aren't people like I would personally associate with in my personal life and my professional life. It doesn't get you anywhere. You're not building, and you're not surrounding yourself with a team of people either that are going to get you or help get you there when all you do is have negative thoughts and speak
Yeah.
negatively.
Yeah. And it's like when I go in to do an analysis for a new client, I go on a site visit for a couple of days. I'm usually suggesting some pretty radical changes to that company. But I always tell them you can remain and do everything just like you're doing if you're happy with the results you're getting right now. But they're not happy with the results they're getting. They want different results. So I have to encourage people to step out of the comfort zone, such as having morning meetings, setting up SOPs, having SWOT meetings, all the things that we know are going to move that client to where they're wanting to go. But sustaining that change outside the comfort zone, it's a hard place to be. It really is. And that's what I deal with a lot of time. I've been on several calls today, and it has been people that are discouraged because of what's happening around them. I'm seeing so many people, they are trapped by people that have been in the company for a lot of years, but they're no longer producing. They're not producing what they should be producing, and they're causing chaos and waste. So as we talk about this, it may be time for these people to move on to a different occupation. That's a very uncomfortable place for people to be. Cheryl, what's your additional thoughts on this?
Well, it's another area. It's a need for security. Those long-term people are their quote unquote security blankets to themselves. They don't realize a lot of times this is a weighted blanket that's actually holding them back. But we see that quite often. We also see that if they let this person go, the other people usually pick up the track and move farther than they've ever been before. But it's an unknown area. That's another word that holds you back, that fear of the unknown. And I think that's the big thing. You walk, you've got a why in the road. Do you take the safe path that you've always walked? Or do you take the unknown path just to see what's at the other end? I kind of like the unknown at the other end myself, but just because it's a challenge, and that's where a lot of people aren't. They can't get past the security. It's hard, especially if they've been doing it that way for years and years. By the time you get most of these people, they've been in it for many years and done it the same way ever since they started.
Yep. Josh, what about you?
Lack of a challenge. I think the easiest way you're going to get me to do something is tell me I can't do it. You're going to get I've done more design projects when we had the retail store or installs because someone said I couldn't do it. And next thing you know, my ass is up on a ladder, or which is way out of my comfort zone these days. It's like, yeah, I can still do it. I've now become. We had at morning jiu-jitsu this morning. Me and the other guy I was practicing with. We had a new guy who had a lot of wrestling experience, and he brought out some headgear. I was like, well, when's the last time you saw headgear? And he's like, we can start using the term score. It's been more than a score. So it's been, I'm the old guy now, like, my movie references, but I if you tell me I can't do it, I'm going to get up there and I'm going to do it. And that's an easy motivator for me to get it done.
So you've been on this jujitsu kick for a while now. How have you been able to sustain this, Josh? Because there's been times this has put you in some real pain. Would you agree?
Oh, I can't move my wrist right this second. I have limited range because I fell awkwardly today.
Yeah.
The best thing that's happened is I am getting my butt kicked less as I'm getting more flexible and stronger and better. That has been the biggest one, as I am not getting. I have a better knowledge base, and then the occasional Motrin. But Motrin is my performing enhancing drugs, I say these days.
Yeah.
By doing and getting better, that's a big one. And yeah, don't be afraid of failing. That's a big one.
That's it. Chuck Blair just added in the comments, take the leap. Don't be afraid of falling. Fear will keep you from soaring to new heights. That's definitely the thing. And then Tom Wright puts in a question. Is this comfort zone reached more often from ownership or employees in your experience? Tom, in my experience, I think one of the leading issues is that employees are in a comfort zone. Employees do not want to change. And often this is the big challenge to the business owner. He sees that change is needed. And I've worked with a lot of people through this. And it takes a lot of fortitude, just like for Josh, to keep going back and getting his butt racked by these young kids in jiu-jitsu in the morning. And it takes pain and all that. So Cheryl, what's your thought? Is it more from employers, or is it ownership, or is it equal?
I think it's two-sided. I think the ownership comes from seeing that the guys are comfortable, and that puts him in the space of the fear sector. If I rock the boat, am I going to lose my employees? So it's not completely the employees. Part of it is the leaders or the owners, because if they see that's where their comfort zone comes up out of fear or lack of comfort zone, is because they have that fear of losing certain employees. And it seems like you notice it more in the busy seasons, because that's when they really, quote unquote, need the people and they're just scared to let things change, and they go on and it just stays the way it is. But I would say it's not equal, but I would say it's in both fields.
Okay. Josh, what's your thought on this question? Is it ownership? Is it employees?
I'm going to say it's on ownership, because from my years of doing it, employees want to see that the change is going to be stuck with and followed through by the ownership. I think that's a big one. I think that, you get revved up from conventions or your mixed group or whatever, and you're like, I'm going to do all this stuff. And then, of course, your daily life takes over. The employees are just like, whatever, new whatever. But sticking with it and showing them that, you're going to stick with it. But like, hey, we're going to keep the warehouse clean. And if you start with that, something, that's not a small task. It sounds like it's a simple task, but it's not. But if we start showing that we care here, and you stay at it every single day, then the bar starts getting moved.
Yeah. And what I admire people that are willing to undergo change, even though they're not forced into it. They make a decision that, hey, things are going to change. I'm going to buckle down. I'm going to make this happen. In the last week, I made a trip this week into Middle Tennessee. And that meant that I had to go through the North Carolina mountains and Eastern Tennessee to get to my destination in Middle Tennessee. So I went 2 different routes because Interstate 40 is closed. And this is a trip that I drive when I go into Middle Tennessee. I'm usually driving into the area. And on this trip, what I saw was it was horrible to see the destruction that this storm has caused and the disruption of lives. And people are going to have to make changes up there. Some of them may have to make decisions. Maybe where they're living is not a good place to rebuild another house if those rivers come up again like they did this time. That was a 250-year storm, but we never know if it's going to happen again. But to watch this area of the country and the challenges they're going through, and while I'm saying that, these people still need a lot of help up there. They really, really do. It's going to take years for this to straighten out. This storm just wreaked so much havoc up there. I saw bridges that were gone. I saw railroad trestles that are no longer there, that are tore up. This really closed down, and it was very painful. Just happened to take this trip I did around to get around into Tennessee, since you couldn't go on the interstate anymore. I had to go the old road, and it was quite a challenge. These people are up, and that's what you want to do in life, I think, is make the changes you have to before the disruption has happened and your company is falling apart. You got to make the changes and get out of that comfort zone. Because here's the thing, life is a gamble. None of us knows if we're going to be here tomorrow. We really, really don't. We never know when that last day is, when that last hour, when that last minute is. So we got to make the choices that we do. And that's going to involve coming out of the comfort zone if you're going to attain the dreams you have and you want to make that journey a reality to where your dream destination is. So Cheryl, anything else before we close this one out today?
Nothing other than the fact that I notice that social media puts people out of or into their comfort zone and holds them there because they're so afraid of what the people that see them on social media will think of their idea. A lot of us don't have a problem with what other people think, but many people do. There's just so many things, but without getting out of this comfort zone, you get to stay in that same rabbit hole that you've been months and months ahead of time. So take the leap and try something new, even if it's small.
Yep. Josh, any final words from you today, brother?
No, I always like to go back to don't be, failing forward. It's not the mistakes, people judge you by. It's what you do afterwards that really people judge you by.
Yep, you're exactly right. And with that, we're going to close out today's episode of the CVC Home Service Success Network. Hope this gives you some ideas. Hey, maybe you're sitting there and thinking, I need to do this, but it's kind of going to be uncomfortable. Well, what you got to do, you got to take that leap. Yeah, you may fall, you may get bruised, but unless you start that journey, you're never going to get to your destination. Hopefully, maybe this fires you up for changes that you got to make in your business or in your life, because you're going to have to come out of that comfort zone in your life. Don't wait till you're placed in it where you have to make the changes. Move forward if you want to get your realities you're looking for. And with that, appreciate you joining us this week. We'll look forward to you joining us next week on the next episode. If you're watching this on the replay, we really appreciate you being there. We're getting a lot of views, a lot of downloads every single week. So appreciate you being here. It's an honor, it's a privilege, and it's a pleasure for all of us. Talk to you next time.